Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin al-Fatih lima ughliq wal khatim lima sabaq nasiril haq bil haq wal hadi ila siratikal mustaqim wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdaril azim. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. Alhamdulillah. Nice to see familiar faces. And today we are here for the Al-Ghazali Chair Philosophical Discourse 2024, series number 8 of 12. And we are discussing a topic which is very important. I think in today's world, in the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, we have to be grounded in the reality of the time, but also rooted with our tradition, inshallah. So without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today on the title Why Creation is Revelation, Revisiting the Two-Book Theory, Professor Datuk Dr. Osman Bakar. Bismillah.
It's continuation from the first second. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brother Arif, the moderator, friends, lecturer students, and everyone, including those now who are attending this presentation online. So basically, as Dr. Isham said, this is a continuation of the previous two lectures around the general theme of revelation, reason, and by extension to political philosophy. And today, the topic here is why creation is revelation. I don't know whether there's any difference in your feeling, in your response, because we are using the word here in English, creation, revelation. But if we to translate that into another language, say in bahasa, mengapa penciptaan sama dengan wahyu? Do you feel any difference in which that or creation, halkun, and revelation wahid? But the subtitle may be of more interest, maybe. And certainly some people told me when they receive the posters, in testing this two-book theory. So maybe spend a little bit more on the two-book theory, including the significance of the theory for each one of us in this room, for students, for scientists, in fact, whatever you feel of specialization. The two-book theory. Because some said that they have never heard really of the two-book theory. Yeah? This is not a book of ideologies and not some one ideology. Two-book theory defending some ideology, for example. Yeah. So anyway, let me, as I want to go discussing this, first of all, I want to be clear. I always like to make the terms clear. Each term that we want to use, we must make it very clear what it means. then only we can have a proper analysis and discussion of the word. So to start with is creation. What do you mean by creation? So I titled this slide, what's in the name? What's in the name? Now, why I pose that question? Because people quarrel over the name of the world. So if you give the name of creation to the whole world, somebody is going to say, no, we don't want that name. We don't want that name. This sounds religious. Now you are bringing God into the picture. Forget. I do not want to bring God into the picture. So creation, no, must look for some other word. The creation. But then there are many words which basically signify which mean the same thing. So creation is one. According to the whole creation, the whole that exists, isn't that one? Cosmos. Cosmos is one word. But doesn't the word cosmos signify something religious as well? Or is it neutral? Is it neutral? The universe, is that free of any association with religion or with philosophy? Yeah, that is religious in nature. Then of course, maybe a more neutral word, order. You see, the cosmic order, the natural order, and world acceptable. So that's we are. Yeah. And I'm sure you know what I mean. What I mean, then these people quarrel over the name of the word. Creationist, wow, so very good. Yes, we agree. Creation. The creation. But atheists, many people who don't believe in God, for whom the word creation does not make sense. Yeah, because to accept the word creation, there must be somebody who create the world, and usually that will take us to bring us closer to God. No, but then I don't want to talk about God. That is basically that. So people quarrel not only over the name of the world, but also people quarrel over the nature of the world. Yes, our world. But the materialist, as far as concerned, it's just physical world, material world, nothing else. Yeah. Nothing beyond the material world. So, but basically, I will say that people quarrel over the nature of the world because this is a philosophical quarrel. This is a philosophical quarrel. The first one just now, an ideological quarrel. Quarrel influenced by ideologies. Now the philosophical is basically with regard to what is the nature of the world. Of course, this is of interest to both science and philosophy. But more so this, yeah, because some say there is material or physical world, there is the spiritual world, there's a subtle world, a subtle here with a precise meaning, something that is neither spiritual nor physical, but something in between. Malay, you have halus, alam halus, alam halus, subtle. It's connected to both sides. On one side, connected to spiritual. On the other side, connected to the material, physical. Or there's another word in Islamic philosophy, which is also something precise. Imagine a world. Alam khayal. Alam khayal, not the Malay khayal, not the khayal majnin. No, it's not the khayal majnin. There is an objective world out there. As Ibn Arabi said, there is the imaginal world. All that. So people quarrel over the nature of the world. Then people quarrel over the size of the world. Yeah? Of course, this is more philosophical, scientific quarrel. Is the world, is the universe finite or infinite? There's a debate. Yeah. Is there a world before the Big Bang? Was there a world before the Big Bang? Some say, no, I never thought of it. You just imagine that. Oh, I never thought of that. That question. We thought that the Big Bang means the beginning of the world. Yeah, but for the Islamic perspective, from the Islamic perspective, no. Before the Big Bang, there was already a world, because the Big Bang was talking about the beginning of the physical world. But before the physical world, there was already the angelic world. Angels exist. So to those believers in Big Bang, we ask them, were the angels consulted when we had the Big Bang? This is a legitimate question. So you say no, the Big Bang happened without the involvement of the angels. Then the angels have a right to respond. Reply. Cannot be. Because God, when we want to do with physical world, whenever God wants to do something, we always consulted. Okay, that. So people quarrel over the size of the world. But even the final world itself, why is the size? Because scientific progress shows that the world is expanding, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's no, the size is not static. It is changing, expanding. But in the start, I said, believers in God do accept the word creation. So that's our premise. We're talking about from the Islamic perspective here. So what is creation? What is creation? There are many ways for us to describe what creation is, but here I just come up with several. Yeah? Creation is everything else other than God. So we cannot define creation unless making reference to God. And as you can see, why do they know? In the first slide, some people will not accept. Creation must lead to the idea of God. In fact, the Muslims define creation in reference to God. The Muslim definition of the cosmos, of the universe, of the world is a God-centric definition. It's a God-centric definition. Centered, God-centric. I explained this in my book, Quranic Pictures of the World. I hope some of you have read my book, The Quranic Pictures of the Universe. Quranic Pictures of the Universe. There I reproduce the Muslim definition, which is a God-centric definition. Everything, the universe, the cosmos is everything other than God. Ma siwa Allah. Everything other than God. The whole, the whole thing. Yeah. So it's the whole cosmos, the universe, all the worlds combined. Al-Alamin, all the worlds. Yeah? So creation is everything else other than God. That's what we mean by creation in our discussion. Creation encompasses all the worlds, material, physical, spiritual, subtle, which I already mentioned. Creation is all that exists as effects of the divine creative act. Creation is all that exists as effects. So creation is the effect of a cause. That cause is God. The cause is that divine creative act. Kun fayakun. kun, that is a divine creative act. So the source of the creative act is God, the creator, and from that creation is produced. So the total effect of that creative, that is creation. Creation as the content of the creator's messages. Creation as the content of the creator's messages. That's creation. I'm taking here. Creation comprises all the messages of God, of the creator. Yes, I'm talking more there. God, the creator. In sense of referring to rock, yeah, also to Khalik. So the message of creation to us is the author, the creator said, I want to be known. Simple as that. Why is there creation? Because the creator message is, I want to be known. Okay. Now let's go now another slide about creation. Creation is not the sole defining element of the relationship between God and the world. I'm saying this, I'm aware, in their mind, many people, many Muslims, when they want to talk about the relationship between God and the world, God and the universe, there's only one word in mind, which is creation. But I'm saying here, creation is not the sole defining element of relationship between God and the world. There are many religions which do not emphasize the word creation. They believe that there is a source of the world. There is a metaphysical source of the world. But I didn't talk about creation. It's not the product of creation. Maybe we have come across, discussed, followers, some say, like say in Buddhism, some other religions, where the word creation doesn't appear at all. But in the Abrahamic religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, there's great emphasis on creation. But in some religions, no, that is not emphasized. It doesn't mean they don't believe in ultimate reality, the absolute reality. They don't believe. But they don't use the word creation in talking about relationship between, they don't even have the word God. See? Oh, we don't believe in God. And this is because it seems then God and creation, for some religions, God, they are too closely connected. Yeah. So what then are the other defining relationship? Emanation. The word emanation, which the problems with some Muslims had about the Muslim philosophers. Al-Farabi believes in emanation, so it cannot be true. Cannot be true Muslim. Because emanation, this is inherited from the Greek, one of the streams of Greek philosophy. Yeah. So the other defining relationship is emanation. The Arabic word is faidun, faid. Yeah, faid. In bahasa lempahan, melempah. Yeah? Air yang melempah, overflow, the flow. So it's different word. So of course, I mean, some religion or dimensions of a particular religion prefer to emphasize emanation rather than creation. Some religions prefer that. Well, within the same religion, in other words, the school of thought that believes in the idea of emanation, that's more prominent. Emanation, but in Islamic thought, there was and there still is, a philosophical school then believes that another way, they don't reject creation, but they say this a kind of esoteric way to understand which complements creation, and that is emanation, because that what will happen in the world is something like light, sunlight that comes from the sun. There's a kind of emanation. It's kind of you don't see the discontinuity between the sun and the rays of the sun. This of the sun and the rays of the sun. There's a kind of continuous flow. The rays flow from the source of the sun. But there's also a reference to one used by the prophet is the word five, because in reference to the divine mercy, rahmah, rahmah ilahi, the divine mercy flows, overflows, and out of the overflow you have the world. So the world results from the overflow of rahmah. It's another way of looking at reality. Actually, to put it another way, theologically speaking, there are two ways of describing a relationship between God and creation, God and the world. One is creation, which is discontinuous. Then the other one is emanation, which is continuous. Reality is that it is both continuous and non-continuous. If you just take one, reject the other, then you don't get the whole picture. You don't get the correct picture. That is important. The relationship, between God and the world. Actually, both are true. And the symbol of clock of the clock and Allah or God as the clock maker, that kind of symbolism is precisely based on creation, because when we speak of creation, there's a separation between the creator and the object that is being created. That is the meaning of the implicit significance of the word creation. And that's why you have within the Christian tradition, you have this God as the clockmaker, and the clock is there because the assumption is that God created the world just at once. The world is complete, and there's no need. It's just God taking a rest. No, the world is already completed as a finished product. But the idea of the world as finished product, that is absent from Islam. That's contrary to Islamic belief, because the Quran emphasizes that God created the world at every moment. God create, renew, create and renew the creation. The creation is always renewed at every moment. It's not the same world. Even already, I'm here already with you. Just now, it's already 15 minutes. Already 15 minutes. It's as if that you have not changed at all. But in those 15 minutes, at every moment, you are new. You were a different person 15 minutes ago. Now I look at you, still looks the same, but actually, no. No, you have changed. That's very important concept there. So in Islam, certain schools of Islamic philosophy, the cosmos or the world is defined in terms of emanation from God. Some, I'm not saying that, and I accept, but I accept both. I accept that. So, for example, the world as an overflow, right, of the divine mercy. But the real question is, what is the essence of creation? And this, I want to come to my topic. What is the essence of creation? All right. arguments, and the topic, why creation is a book. So I want to bring you now creation as a book. Arguments for the treatment of creation as a book. First argument. The content of creation is messages from its creator, just as the content of a book is messages from its author. Try to that analogy. We all read books. You read books written by an author. Yeah? Actually, the content of the book is all messages, whatever those messages are. But basically, those are messages from the author. You may agree with the messenger or you don't agree. But the point is, they are messages. What thing you cannot deny? The content of the book comprises of messages from the author. Some author write better in conveying their message, others are lousy. Yeah, but the point, yeah, there's a message they want to convey. So same thing, creation. So try to imagine that the analogy of that book. Oh no, creation in front of us that you see. Creation, the content. Actual content is messages. You see the tree, you see the sky, you see the hill, you see the river, you see the sun, moon, all, everything that exists is a message from the Creator. Is matter. You have to decode the message. You don't know, you don't understand the message, or you don't care about the message, and that's another question. But from the philosophical point of view, the whole of creation comprises, is a collection, is a vast collection of messages from the Creator. Because for us now, we don't question anymore Creator, the Creator exists. We're not here to dispute about whether the Creator exists or not. Yeah. So, thus God is often referred to as author in Islamic literature, Islamic philosophy. Mu'allif. Mu'allif. Bukan mu'alaf, ya. Mu'allif. Mu'allif. God is often referred to as author of the universe. So God is the author. So God is the greatest of all authors, and the author with the most number of messages to convey. That's the one that's from time. Now, creation comprises divine verses. Ayat. Ayat. Singular. Ayat. Plural. Ayat. Yeah. Verses. Creation that we see comprises divine verses, just as a book by a human author comprises verses. The Quran describes its content as ayat. Ayat Al-Quran. Yeah? The content of the Quran is ayat, verses. But the Quran also talks about the content of creation, also ayat. So the content of creation is called by the same name as the content of the Quran. So there must be some connection with the two. Why does the author, all right? Now, well, basically now we're coming to the same author, the author of two books. The author of Al-Quran and the author of creation. Of course, the purpose of my discussion is to bring you to that idea that actually creation, the universe, cosmos, is a book of God. It's a book authored by Allah. And there's a connection. There must be some connection because God referred to the content of the Quran as ayat, and God referred to the content of the universe also as ayat. Example here, you can refer the Quran, Surah Al-Imran, verses 190 to 91. Verily, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض. Verily, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of night and day, واختلاف الليل والنهار. They are in the signs. Signs here referring to ayat. The word in the Quran, the word there, ayat. Al-ayat tulil albab. Al-ayat tiulil albab, for man of understanding. They're in the signs for man of understanding. That self, in others, if you to really to understand deep the meaning of this, the concept of ayat in the Quran. Continuation of that verse, those who celebrate the praises of God, standing in this connection here, the Uli Albab. The Uli Albab regarding the signs, the verses, the content of the Quran, and the content of the universe. Standing, sitting, and lying down on their sides, and contemplate the wonders of creation in the heavens and the earth, saying, Our Lord, not for nothing have you created all this. Glory to thee. Give us salvation from the penalty of the fire. You can check the verse of the Quran. Right? In other words, then, what it means that simply that what the verse is telling us, the content of the heavens and the earth, and the heavens and the earth combined constitute the universe, the cosmos. So the content of them is that verses. الذي لا يذكرون الله الذي لا يذكرون الله what قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم on their sides. And then of course so on you have ويتفكرون, the wonders of creation. Another one is very interesting, is it? Surah 41, Surah Fusilat, verse 53. Soon will we show them our signs. Again, signs there. Soon we shall show them our verses in the horizons, regions of the furthest they can think of, because this is al-afaq, yeah, we had the Malay word ufuk, the ufuk, yeah. In other words, the furthest that you can see, to signify the entire earth, you know what I'm saying? So this science, but also science in their souls, fi anfusihim, until it becomes manifest to them that this is the truth. Annahu al-haq. Become manifest that this is true. Is it not enough that your Lord does witness all things? So this verse of the Quran is another example to show the content. In other words, the verses or ayat are to be found in basically this is the content of the universe.
It's complementary, but
Yeah.
understanding is complementary, it completes each other. Or
Which one?
revelation and the creation.
Well, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that, yeah. But just to show another, I'm gradually taking you all to the what is the basically the doctrine. Then creation is a divine book. That is the main argument. Yeah, creation deserves to be called a book, and in fact, that's how in centuries of Islamic thought, that's how the Muslims, the Muslim scholars understand the universe, the cosmos. Yeah. To them, based on the Quran, based on arguments from the Quran, the cosmos is a book. The universe is a book. The world is a book with great implication for the development of knowledge. Because, and also what our attitude should be towards the world, towards the natural world, the physical world, which has implication for the issue of the environment. Yeah. In fact, one factor that shapes the Muslim thinking, the traditional Muslim thinking on environmental consciousness is the idea that the environment is part of a book, is part of a book. And therefore, it is something sacred. It has that particular of being sacred because it is part of a book. Another form of revelation. Another form of revelation. Yeah. But I come the more arguments, yeah, on that. Yeah. So the Quran is a book, of course. We know that the Quran is a book, kitab. But the creation, the world, the cosmos, is also a book. The same word is being used in the Quran in reference to book of the Quran, kitab, from the root word kataba, from that you have kitab, and the same root word that gives in reference to what God has decreed. God has decreed from kataba in reference to the world, to the world. So we have, I think we have very good arguments to support the idea that the creation is a book. But now means that we have two books. We have the Quran as a book, creation as a book, but not from two different authors, from the same author, the one and the same God, which solves at once all the issues discussed in the modern world, which looks at, or the God of religion is different from the God of creation. On the contrary, from the Islamic perspective, no. The source, the ultimate source of the Quran, the eternal Quran, the source of the creation is one and the same. There is the Quran, where the archetypes, basically, the archetypes of the Quran that we read, and the archetypes of the world of nature, one and the same thing. So, metaphysically, in theory, there cannot be any conflict between the content of the two books. I can to some more points regarding that. So then creation also is looked upon as an autograph book of divine signatures. Creation is a book of divine signatures. God signed. So actually, a plant is a signature of God. A plant. Moon is a signature of God. Different signatures. Why different signatures? Because each particular being, each creature manifests a particular quality of God, which means the name of God. God has symbolically 99 beautiful names. Do you see all those names the signature of those names in creation? So we need the reflection, tafakkur. We need that. So you reflect. Yeah. So the moon is a beautiful night, but it is also a beautiful signature of God. So creation has been seen that because God, because creation reflects the divine names and quality. Creation as a theater of theophanies, tajalliyat. Tajal means station. You see, we see what to say the meaning. Tajalliyat here, divine manifestation to all the phenomena of creation. These are tajalliyat, the theophanies of God, just as the word ayat. Okay? No, talk about the Quran, the book of creation. To emphasize now, I want to emphasize again the two books, the Quran and the book of creation, from the same author, God, the one. The two books mirror each other. The two books mirror each other. A one-to-one. There is a one-to-one correspondence between them. There is a one-to-one correspondence between the content of the Quran and the content of book of creation. That's why in Islamic thought, the two books have been described as the two Quran. I hope people out there, nobody else will misunderstand. No, Osman BAKAR teaching that two Qurans now. Yeah. But so Al-Quran al-Tadwini and Al-Quran al-Takwin, creation. So Quran means the composed Quran, the written Quran, Al-Quran al-Tadwini. You know, that Quran which was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, that is a Quran al-Tadwini. And the creation, that is Al-Quran al-Takwini. Yeah. Actually, in reality, they refer to the one and the same, but exist in different forms. In fact, it is not only just referring to the arguments from the Quran. A Sufi master of the 14th century, Aziz al-Nasafi, refers to the book of nature in this word. Now, this is a Muslim scholar, a Sufi master. He was referring to nature, the book of nature. He calls it the book of nature. Now he's addressing the book of nature. Quote from him: each day, destiny and the passage of time set this book before you, surah for surah, verse for verse, letter for letter, that you may learn the content of these lines and letters. This is from his book, Kashfun al-Haqa'iq. There he compares each genus to a surah, each species to a verse, and each particular being to a letter. Now he set aside the book, the Quran, and book, revision nature. That's the unity of religion and science. Yeah, there's unity of also revelation and creation, in which exists in its form. Well, that's it. But before I do that, I want because I want to discuss what is the significance. What is the significance of the two book theory? First of all, it affects or influences our methodological approach to the study of nature, which is important for the scientists, especially for those scientists who are studying the biophysical world, who are studying the natural world. The study, this is important because this raises the question. All right, now we have the two books. All right, how should we study the two books? Can we study the two books together? Can we study the two books together? In other words, the Quran, and at the same time study the phenomena of nature? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. The same methods apply to the study of the Quran, of the Quran, the revealed, or the Quran, Al-Tadwini, right? The composed Quran, and then studying the book of nature, which is the Al-Quran Al-Takwini. And now supported by the quotation from, or rather the commentary by Aziz Nasafi. That perspective basically encourages us to study nature in the light by reference to the Quran that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. You know, by studying the Quran Al-Tadwini, we will understand also the Al-Quran Al-Takwini, which exists in the form of natural phenomena. I think that is very important. We can know more about the secrets of nature also by consulting the Quran, Al-Quran Al-Tadwini. That's what it means. For that reason, linguistic method is accepted as one of the means to know the world of nature by studying the Quran. By studying the Quran using the linguistic method, the hermeneutics method, then we will arrive at knowledge of the physical one. But by studying the knowledge of the physical one, then we know better. Then we appreciate better the other Quran. So the two complement in that. Yeah, the two complement each other. By studying one, we know better the other. That is very, very important. So just as method of tafsir, normally we associate method of tafsir with the study of the Quran Al-Tadwini, but the same method of tafsir is being done by the scientists. So scientists who study the world of nature, actually, they are undertaking, they're performing the tafsir, method tafsir. And this pointed by Professor Said Muhammad Akil Antad in his little book, Islamic Philosophy of Science. And in my chapter, I did very extensively in Tawhid and Science, chapter 2, the questions of methodology. We'll talk about that. Yeah. If you use the word tafsir, ta'wil, tadabbur in reference to Al-Quran Al-Tadwini, actually you can use the same words and concept in reference to Al-Quran Al-Takwini. So there should not be any clash between religion and science. Then scientists should love religion, just as religious people also should love science. So all this, this conflicts is all arise because of unnecessary misunderstanding. So we are one. And to the artists, don't run away. Don't feel that we have no. In other words, this thing applies to the arts, design. Yeah, because the only thing is that maybe that we are referring more to the to another book, now. In the sense we are talking about ayat, the ayat as the content of a book, because in the Quran, among the things, among the social phenomena, the human phenomena, that the Quran also refers to as ayat, for example, events that happen in history. If you look to some of the verses that refer to how God treated the Pharaoh, all other people of the past, destroyed people of the past. Some of the verses that refer to also refer to the ayat verses. In other words, the signs of God are also demonstrated in human history. I think that's very important. So history is a book. History is a divine book where God has messages. God sends a lot of messages through history in the Quran. Okay, so basically that I think the significance of the two book theory. Now, this theory basically did not exist. It was not basically formulated until the coming of Islam. We did not encounter a two-book theory before the coming of Islam, and that's very, very, very interesting. I can be corrected. I can be corrected on that. Yeah. So it was Islam that basically founded the theory, popularized the theory to the point that it influenced medieval West. One of them, of course, is Galileo Galilei. Galileo also subscribed to the two-book theory. That was very interesting. I hope someone will make a further study about the influence of Islam's two-book theory on medieval Western thought. Yeah? Later became acceptable in the West. And in my previous lecture, remember we talked about the two theory. That was just something certainly that in fact what you're talking about now is another proof that Islam cannot subscribe to the two truth theory. Yeah, because each book is embodiment, is the best embodiment of truth. And of course, talking about Islam and the Islamic revelation, because for us, the Islamic revelation given to the Prophet Muhammad that symbolizes the best, the most perfect revelation. The most perfect revelation. There were other revelations before Islam, but from the Quranic point of view, not the entire content of the eternal Quran. In other words, the kitab, that eternal kitab, in other the previous revelation, only part of that kitab, al-kitab, the part of the eternal Quran was given to the previous prophets, but revelation in its final form, in other words, the entire kitab is revealed to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yeah. But all the kitab, all the books of Allah come from the same source, the same eternal Quran. But we got the final perfect Quran, whereas the previous prophet received the aspects of that, parts of that. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, I think thank you very much, and we can have discussion. We have more time for discussion today. So,
Jazakallah khair, Professor Osman, for a compelling conversation about the two-book theory. I've definitely learned a lot from today, and I was just reading this book, which obviously you would know, Man and Nature, the Spiritual Crisis in Modern Man, which gives a very good picture of what was mentioned by Professor Osman earlier on. It's by Professor Syed Hossein Nasr, and one of the more important books I feel that has to be read today. So I think the effects or the consequences of not understanding Revelation as a book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what we see today, the degradation of the environment, the pollution and everything else, because we don't see, I mean, if the environment is seen only as a resource, which is what is taken to be today, especially in this country, unfortunately, we are rich with resource, as we all say. So there's this opportunity to always use the resource without realizing that it can be depleted, right? And I think this ties in with the notion that we have forgotten that we are Khalifa. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. So this is why it's very important for us as Muslims to understand our responsibility and our obligation in maintaining our ties with the second book, which is nature. And I think we have to carry forward this message by Professor Osman to those who might have forgotten, be it Muslim or non-Muslim, that nature is something that has to be appreciated rather than seen as a resource. So I'd like to get the ball rolling with the question. With regards to that one religion that you mentioned, or a different sort of religion that talked about. No, but I have to get the ball rolling. This is a quick one, just a quick one. So the question is with regards to emanation, because Prof, you mentioned emanation, and you mentioned some religions talk about creation as being emanation. Nature as being emanation. So what are some of the religions that might consider that? Fight.
No, in a sense, when I refer to some religion, talking of basically in talking about the relation between the world and what is beyond the world, they refer to the word emanation, not creation. Because it's simply that whether you want to emphasize continuity between the two or discontinuity. So for the continuity, emanation is closer to that perspective. All right. If you believe you emphasize more on the question of continuity between God and the world, then that particular religion or perspective emphasize on emanation. But otherwise, the emphasis is on creation. But in Islam, we encounter both. So I'm saying, I was referring just now, I was saying that there are philosophical schools in Islam which emphasize on emanation. A good example is the peripatetic school of Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, and so on. And one critic from the theologian against that, no, this is not Islamic. Yeah, it's normal. We say, it's not Islamic. Yeah, I cannot accept that. Yeah, to me, creation ex nihilo, creation of nothing, is acceptable at its own level. But Ibn Arabi, not peripatetic philosophy, but tasawwuf. He also did not accept just the creation thing, because he asked back, yeah, those who believe in creation of nothing, what is that nothing? What do you mean by that nothing? Now, when God gave command to nothing, but there must be something. Yeah. God created out of nothing. That is creation ex nihilo. But the Sufis interpret, no, but that nothing is something, something which already exists. Which already exists, the essence exists, but not existent. They're not existent. There is not yet existent. That's why, but using just purely linguistic argument, the English word exists, E-X-I-S-T. But before, they don't use the spell E-X-I-S-T. They spell E-X-I-S-T. There's a difference between E-X-I-S-T and E-X-I-S-T. Why that hyphen? Why that prefix? Why that prefix? Because X meaning you want to come out of something. You to come out of something. You know, like exit. I'm not sure you don't have exit here. Do the exit. EXIT mean the something exists in this essence, but now it's given wujud, existence. That's why the word it exists. Well, basically, out of RST in the in German language, for example, is that is.
It exists as an idea.
Well, of course, divine idea means real. Is it something real? Yes, the divine idea.
Exists as an idea.
Yes, a divine idea. It is in the divine mind,
Yes.
which is real. Yeah, isn't it? It's right. Yeah. Then that idea is given existence. Yeah, yes, 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 and I say. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Prof. We open the floor to questions.
Can I just ask clarification? Now, as we discussed the two-book theory, which is actually later popularized by Aquinas. In the West, you have a very, Aquinas makes a big deal out
Yeah.
of this two-book theory. But I try to understand, is it complementary? The relationship is complementary or one completes the other? In other words, without understanding the world, we would actually not be able to understand the Quran properly, or the other way around.
God wants to give different books to different branches of community. So you have many revelation, we have many different books culminating in the final book, the Quran of Prophet Muhammad SAW. But God wants to give the same book to everybody. And that has to be the book of creation. It was the creation, was the book of Adam, was the book of Noah, the same thing, the same, of course, some changes, but basically the same book of creation for all prophets, for all men, and until today, despite we having differences about the revealed book, when it comes to book of creation is the book for everybody. But then, how to understand that book? Then we need the what it is Al-Quran that we need. So the in one sense, we are referring to the same entity. We are referring to the same. Meaning-wise, the meaning of the book of creation is the same as the meaning of the Quran and Tawhid. If we understand the universe, then we understand the Quran. If you understand the Quran, we understand the universe. But it's not a way, of course, it's a question of we need to know the book of creation. But we cannot know that book of creation in our own lifetime. Not certainly, not everything. We live number of years, yeah. But the Quran, but the universe is very, very, very large, very vast. Yeah. For that reason, God created a mini universe in the form of human being. That's why we have the concept of microcosm. Each one is a microcosm. As Ikhwan as-Safa said, there's no way that in our own lifetime we can know the whole universe in our lifetime. But because God has assembled the whole cosmos inside us, so we can understand that in our own lifetime. So they said, you don't have to travel to all corners of the universe in order to know God, in order to understand you, our own, to understand us. So we, each one of us, is carrying the content of the whole cosmos. I thought it was a very, very interesting argument, yeah, because there's things that we cannot postpone. I think this is the problem with the science, and since that accumulates knowledge, it wants to accumulate, but then there are questions not yet answered. Yes, those questions, in other words, for later generations, they can do that. Yeah, but for our own salvation, as a being, we cannot wait. So there are some questions which we must know now, not wait another 30 years, 130 years. No. Okay.
Just follow up. Since the universe complements, the study of the universe complements.
Yeah, compliments.
Why is scientists so antagonistic these days? It seems the opposite. The more the argument in science contradicts or science.
There is a long history. Basically, the answer to the question is the history of ideas in the last. Basically, I think it's from the 14th century. 14th century. Since then, and that happened. That happened in the West. But unfortunately, there was a decline also in Islamic thought. We also have forgotten, some of those things. But initially, before modern times, there was no enmity in that. And you mentioned Thomas Aquinas. Yeah, yes, because the schoolmen, the Scotsman, they basically a lot influenced by Islamic science, Islamic philosophy. I in fact wrote a long chapter in my Tawhid and Science on the influence of Islamic science on the scholars of the Middle Ages. I think that's basically. But the reason why they arose in the Christian context, and that's interesting. In our case, we did not start it. We were influenced later. That's different. But I'm talking that it was a kind of reaction against the two-book theory. For example, in the West, yeah, what was so much opposition against Galileo? Part of the reason, which not many people will emphasize, was that actually Galileo was influenced a lot by Islamic science. So and he was considered as against the teachings of the church, against the teachings of the church. But there's a more fundamental reason why that problem arose in the Western context, because basically the clergy's understanding of Christianity, of the Bible, is not the same. In other words, the idea of the book, the idea of the two book cannot have arisen also from their context, because for mainstream Christian theology, what they had was done. This salvation, the way to know God, is through the Bible. So basically, is through the reveal, to the extent whatever you accept, but how much revelation is there in other what was contained in the Bible, but not what, but they neglect the book of creation. So because of the influence of Islam, then Christian intellectuals became attracted to this idea of the other book, the book of creation. But then they also neglect the other Quran. So basically, they're excited about the Islamic contribution to the book of creation, but whereas the Islam look at the book from another perspective and angle. But why it remains the same? The West became interested in the other book, in the book of creation, but without basically. If I put this to the many Christian intellectuals in 15th century, 16th century, was that Al-Quran, Al-Takwini, yes. Al-Quran, Al-Takwini, no. That's what we have.
Prof. Ahmed, Bismillah.
Yes. Hocam, thank you very much. I'm trying to digest that. A few questions, if you do not object. Is there any separation, the first and the second, chronologically, these two books? Which one is the first, which one is the second? Or if there are differences, does it mean anything? Second question is about two books, some unrevealed religions, the Buddhism, you always give examples, very nice, and some other, I guess, even to some extent, animists or animism. Looking at the second book, means that alam, nature, cosmos, but they do not see or understand the first book, means that revealed book. Does it mean anything meaningful in their belief system according to Islam? The third one. Thank you.
Yes, let me answer question by question. I said earlier that for Adam, the first man, he did not have two books, only one book. Because the book of nature was the book. In other words, for Adam, in his family, the source of guidance, well, of course, I mean, you have revelation in a sense. It's not a written book, of course. In other words, when say based on the Quran, then Allah taught Adam the names of all things. So that knowledge, in a sense, existed in one. It was not. There's no separation between what we have called the Quran Takwini and the Quran Tadwini. In other words, yes, God revealed to Adam some knowledge, but there's some other knowledge which Adam obtained from the book of creation. In fact, among the many things that God taught Adam, the name actually referring to knowledge of that book of nature, the book of nature. Remember in the Quran, referring to when one of the sons of Adam was murdered by his brother, and then there was a problem how to bury. And what the Quran said, refers what? There was God sent the raven to inspire. There it's very clear. You learn from nature, even how to bury the dead. Yeah, there's a source of inspiration there. Now, in other words, the book of nature or the book of creation remains the one single constant throughout history. The question of basically the revelation that is given to the prophets, given from prophet, may not be in written language, but oral language, because oral language, oral tradition is very, very important in the past. And the problem when you refer to the word animism, or animism, what is animism? What do you think about that? The word animism is not entirely innocent. In other words, if we interpret it in a way that does not contradict against Tawheed, against about cosmology, let's say cosmology. For ancient people, the cosmology is a very, very important branch of science, because basically it is their religion. It is the source of basically the revelation given to their prophet, the first prophet, was preserved in that cosmology. whether the cosmology is in the form of myth, mostly in the form of myth. Okay, then. So it's certainly because the meaning of dual animism has been corrupted, I would say corrupted, by some anthropologists, modern anthropologists, to say that this enemy. Not always we can agree. Not always we can agree with what I mean by animism. But there is no doubt what we accept, like shaman. So the Malays were descendants of shamanism. Yeah, the real shamanism is precisely that unity of the revealed tradition and what they observe about nature. The only thing is that the problem now, the scope of the cosmological beliefs in the case of declining and in the animism in decline, they have reduced reality to the subtle and the physical world. What is forgotten is the higher world of the angels. And therefore, today we find among so-called enemies, their cosmology just dealing with the world of the jinn, the subtle things. And they try to, to make crowds out of the building. But where have gone the angels? The angels have disappeared from their belief. Yeah. So I don't know what's your question. Have I answered your
Buddhism.
Buddhism? Yes.
Probably Buddhism is
Yeah.
more important than this animism because clear.
Precisely. If we study books on Buddhism, basically the teaching of Buddha himself, yeah, it was not at all dealing with the doctrine of creation. Not creation. It was dealing with the kind of esotericism, what Islam would call the esotericism. In other words, just dealing with the spiritual, the inner dimension of the human reality. There is basically, they have the concept of the perfect man. In Buddhism, they have that concept of the perfect man. But the concept of the perfect man is not based, is not on the teaching of the Sharia. It's not on the, it's not based on, it's not esotericism. That's why there is in Islam, that is within Tasawwuf, it's not Sharia. It's not part of the Sharia sciences, but of the, not even theology. So the emphasis there in how to understand the relationship between the human reality and what is beyond that, which symbolically is the void, basically the void. What Buddhists understand by ultimate reality that we understand in Islam, that transcendent reality would be individually the experience of nirvana, the experience of that. But the reality they're talking about is the reality that is basically that transcendent reality which is beyond the human, which is to be sought through enlightenment. Yeah. So basically, all the basic doctrines within Buddhism, moving away or rather do not touch the issue of the creation, whether it is creation of nothing. No, it is something which is in the nature of things. I think that's that we have in the case of Buddhism. So that's why some Buddhists say, no, we don't have the idea of God. We don't have the idea of creation. But actually, if we compare to Islam, then we have to go to another dimension of Islam in order to understand Buddhism. That's my.
Sorry, let me just no, Prof, let me just check if there's a question online. Is there a question online? Are you on the? Oh, okay. Sorry, Prof, let me just check.
While we're here, while we're doing that,
Oh, you mean from that?
Okay, that's the question. We probably just take this one first, and then one more from the crowd, from the people here. Thank you, Prof. Osman, for the enlightenment today. May I know how can this differ from pantheism? Yes, point of view on creation. Yes, pantheism.
Okay. Now, there is a lot of misunderstanding about the presence of God in the world and what is understood in Western philosophy as pantheism. Pantheism. Pantheism identifies God with the world, but Islam does not subscribe to that. God talks about the presence of God in the world. There's no space in which God is not present. God is present everywhere. But we also say that God is absent everywhere. Therefore, this is not kind of issue that we can resolve by using logical argument. Yeah, the question of either or does not apply here. Yeah, we have to look at the issue from different angles. From another perspective, this is it. Yeah, for example, and this is related to the question. God, from the Islamic perspective, is both transcendent and immanent. It's both tanzih and tashbih. Tanzih means transcendent. Tashbih means immanent. God is present. One can say that God is closer to you than your jugular vein. That is the idea of immanent. No matter how close to the things are to us, God always overrides that. God is always closer to us. In other words, there are many hadiths which point to this. Yeah? The heart of the believer can contain me, but not the heavens and the earth. The heavens, your heart cannot contain the heavens and the earth, but the heart of the believer can contain me. So, this kind of language we have to understand, yeah, because we invoke the name Allah. This is invoked by the heart. The heart invoke the name. It's as if you must feel that the heart, God is inside our heart. This is a matter of something that to be experienced. Yeah? So Allah is transcendent. True. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Allah is transcendent. But وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. God is closer to you than your jugular vein. That's immanence. Perspective of immanence. God is both present in the world and absent from the world. How to reconcile the two? But it's not pantheism, because pantheism is very, very direct. See? God is the world. God is the world. But that will be wrong from Islamic perspective. Yeah, we have to understand that it's not that. Islam does not subscribe to pantheism. Sufism does not subscribe to pantheism. Okay.
It's 4:30 now. Let me just check with Prof. Osman. Is it okay if we continue?
Sorry?
Is it okay if we continue?
Yes. I can go to up to the 5.
Excellent, because we are not limited by the posters.
For these new people.
Yes, of course. Please.
Rarely come. So if you have any questions.
And then we can go back to Prof. Mehmet after this, inshallah. Any questions from the floor? Yes. Please introduce yourself.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Osman. I'm Rezwan from Tech. So it's a very thoughtful lecture. Thank you. So I'm also having a problem understanding the word emanation, the concept, because I think in my understanding, this is heavily influenced by the school of Neoplatonism from Plotinus. So my question would be, is there any differences, the concept of emanation from Neoplatonism and from the Muslim scholars' understanding of this concept, like Al-Farabi and Ibn Sina?
I'm not
Thank
quite
you.
clear. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is there any differences of the concept of emanation from the Neoplatonism and the concept of emanation
Emanation?
from the Neoplatonism and between the understanding of from the Muslim philosophers such as Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi?
Well, we cannot answer the question just saying yes or no, precisely because Neoplatonism, there are many things which were accepted by the Muslim philosophers, but they may not agree. The whole thing, for example, regarding the meaning of continuity between the source and the effect. This question basically, that is the issue. The issue, what is the relationship between the source and the effect, or the cause and the effect? Emanation certainly is an attempt to explain this problem. To the problem, what is the connection between the source and the effect? What I've been saying so far, there are two understandings. One is continuity and discontinuity. And this one normally explained by means of analogy, kias, analogy. So for example, between the sun and the sunlight, the relationship between the sun and the light, we can have the analogy, we can understand that between the sea and the wave, all right? What else? Regarding the continuity, between, of course, between the breath, what we breathe, yeah? In other, the nerves and the breath, the nafas and the breath, and the breath. This is something. This is continuity. Yeah. So one, for example, say God breathed His Spirit into Adam. Is there continuity there or not? Is that the same way as talking about God and the cloud that He created? This is talking about God breathed of His Spirit into Adam. That is continuous. That, because that's why there's something divine which flows into the Adam's body. You want to go back to the question of the this Neo-Platonism? Then Al-Ghazali and this Al-Farabi has been alleged, has been described as being influenced a lot. Yes, it is true. That is because many of the things taught by Neoplatonism is in accord with the teachings of Islam. In fact, most of them. So that's why Al-Farabi, accepted many of the Neoplatonists before him. In other words, these were basically new interpretation of Plato, not so much Aristotle, of Plato. Plato, you remember? Yeah? Yes, that's why in Islamic thought, Muslim philosophers accepted Plato and Aristotle as among the sages, hukama. Now, the status of hukama from the Islamic view is very, 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 very important. The hukama, Al-Ghazali was hukama, Al-Farabi was hukama, Ibn Arabi was hukama. Yeah. So hukama of higher status than ulama. Ulama is the general description, but hukama is something of higher status in terms of spiritual knowledge, in terms of their knowledge of God, of understanding the inner realities. These are issues, I mean, that we seldom discuss, this kind of thing. But to your question, I mean, that's my answer. In other words, most of the teachings of Neoplatonism were accepted by the Muslim philosophers because they were encouraged. But of course, the Sufism, Tasawwuf, accepted many of the also of the teachings of the associated with Platonism, Neoplatonists, excuse me, Neoplatonists. Yes, and
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. I just have one question. You spoke about double truth, double veritas, which was somehow being associated with Ibn Rushd, and you say that basically this concept is not accepted in Islam. Is it true?
yeah, because I explained in my previous lecture that the Western circles, the Western intellectual circle in the 12th century, all those fan clubs of Ibn Rushd in Paris and Venice and so on. I mean, that was based on a misunderstanding, which is very clear in that Ibn Rushd explained in his book, this reconcile the harmony between religion and philosophy. Then there is only one body of truth, one the truth understood by the arrived in the human mind through different ways. That is not the truth. The two bodies of truth. It's the same truth, but one is the truth of revelation in the form of revelation, and the one is in the form of reason. This I explained in my previous lectures. Yeah, revelation and reason accepted the same truth. So it's not two bodies, two opposite truths. I think the problem with the West precisely that in other words, there was antagonism between this idea of revealed truth and rational truth, truth by reason. The question of whether reason by itself is sufficient to arrive at the whole truth, and that's different issue, and certainly I think the whole idea I will call the title of my talk, the gap between revelation and reason is not as wide as you think, precisely because this is a relative thing. Yeah, a relative thing. So for Farabi, for example, well, the gap is very is very close. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Brother Hilman, for your question.
Yeah.
Yes,
As a bit of extension to the question, also to relate to Dr. Hisham's comment about the complementary nature of Quran Tadwini and Quran Takwini. Of course, we know in science it progress, and there is no absolute understanding of a specific opinion in science. We know there is a paradigm shift. What used to be accepted as cosmology is not necessarily the same throughout the ages. Newton, abrogates the previous understanding, and then Einstein comes with a new theory. And so the same with the Quran Tadwini, because we have this science of interpretation, and therefore again comes to Ibn Rushd, there is this science of reconciling between what we understand in Quran as the text and also what we understand in the Quran as a universe. So when, for example, if we go to specific like the issue of Big Bang or the origin of the universe, the Quran has its specific understanding about this, but then the science also has its understanding about this. So I think it's ijtihad. Because there is no way to identify with absolute certainty of the origin of the universe. You mentioned about afaq. It is the observable universe. We cannot go beyond it. And so, yeah, probably to relate to comments. So,
Well, brother, I mean, this is something which is experienced differently by different individuals. So therefore, we do not just have one explanation. And in fact, I refer to Aziz Al-Nasafi. I did not complete what else he said. Yeah, what I said. He said, in other words, all right, for most people, basically their approach to nature is just like the approach of some of the Mufassirun, the interpreters of the Quran, more doing at the level of language, analytical, to analyze words, to study about the historical background, the asbab nuzul, the circumstances, at that level. That's the level of tafsir, the most popular level of tafsir. But there's also the deeper level, which is the level of ta'wil. As Professor Said Nakir Atta said, that one, it requires a different mind, a different intellect. You need to go deeper into the verses. After all, as Al-Ghazali pointed out, quoting a hadith, each verse has 7 levels of meaning, not only 1 level of meaning. Yeah? Which means that, you see, the whole exercise of ta'wil, this spiritual hermeneutics, is basically we are piercing the verses of the Quran from one level to a deeper level, deeper level. That is what the whole thing. That's Al-Nasafi said. For some individuals, they just look at the world of nature. No, the way they look at the world of nature, they saw not phenomena, but what the French call noumena. Phenomena and noumena. What is underneath? For most people, just look. Well, when they look at the sun, what do they see? What do they see? But another person, when they look at the sun, no, they see the sun as the symbol of God. Oh, that is, is not the same. So the sun is not just what is studied by scientists. What size, the size of the planet, the sun, how much sunlight coming out, and I mean, these are all different level of understanding. So that applies to both. The same argument applies to the Quran revealed to Prophet Muhammad SAW, which is the Quran Al-Tadwini, and the Quran of the book of creation. Yeah. So that's why for some people, I mean, by just contemplating on the Quran, based on the verses that I read, then I say, Rabbana ma khalaqta hadha batilan. One person looked at the universe and came to that conclusion with that dua. Oh God, you have not created the world in vain. Not everybody see the same world coming with that. So people see the same mountain, the same sun, the same moon, and yet their conclusions are different. What makes that difference? Is the heart, the intellect.
Bismillah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I actually have 3 questions. I don't know if we have time for that, so I start with the first one. Okay. This idea of emanation and creation, yeah, where you mentioned about emanation as showing continuity. Creation is more like a discontinuity. Can we associate that with the idea of the particle wave duality of light? Or in fact, all matters, from quantum mechanics, which is in physics, light can behave as a particle, a light can behave as a wave. As a wave is continuous from some source. Yeah? As a particle, it is discrete It's continuous. And the same thing actually in quantum mechanics applies to all form of matters. Does it also apply in this concept of immanence and creation?
Yes, because emanation has to be understood at different levels. At different level. What example you gave, that is at the lower level. At the lowest level, basically, it is basically on the boundary between the physical world and what is beyond. In other words, it shows that the logic, either or, cannot apply to all things. The Aristotelian logic, either or, is only applicable in the world that we normally experience in terms of time and space. In the kind of world, what they call where such logic can apply. But the moment you go to the physics, the quantum physics, there you already encounter the inapplicability. It's not applicable, that logic. Yeah, that the fact that light behaves both as waves and as particles. That is already you need. There is only the nearest boundary between the physical world and the non-physical one. What now you go to different barzakh? There are many so different barzakh. So modern science has only come to the lowest barzakh. The lowest barzakh. The lowest is one. But there are higher and higher barzakh. The highest barzakh was, of course, when the Prophet has to traverse that in order to meet God. When Gabriel said, "The Prophet, oh Prophet, I have to stop here. I cannot go further. You please go." That was the highest barzakh. Separating that. Yeah. So you give an example of from physics. That is the lowest difference to understand that the logic either or does not apply. Light is both waves and particles.
Okay, if let me just jump to the this idea of creation, the universe as a book. Yeah, can we also equate that with the idea of Lauh Mahfuz? Because it's a preserved tablet, where everything that is to be and everything is already recorded there. Can we associate that with the kitab, the creation that you mentioned in the two book thing?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Can we equate Lauh Mahfuz?
Lauh Mahfuz.
The preserved tablet, where everything is written to happen, everything, with the idea of the kitab of creation that you mentioned?
Yes. You see, human beings were created long after the creation of the universe. When God created the world, the universe, that creation was based on the ideas in the divine mind, but those ideas were already in a sense contained in the Lauh Mahfuz. Lauh Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, because referring to the world of the archetypes. What is the Lauh Mahfuz? What is that preserved tablet? That is a place where all the archetypes are stored. Now, and if you want to use the word Quran, that refers to the eternal Quran. That refers to the eternal Quran. So creation was based on that master plan, that divine plan contained in the Lauh Mahfuz. What, of course, which idea given existence first? That is another issue. Yeah, but the question of when human beings were created, so God revealed the Quran to the last revelation to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, what's the source of that? It's the same source. It's the same source. It's the Lawh Mahfuz. Yeah? In the Quran that we have, that we read, that was revealed to our Prophet, the last Prophet, the metaphysical source, the highest metaphysical source, that was the guided tablet, the Lawh Mahfuz. But of course, I don't want to go into the question of the question now, the relationship with the mind of the Prophet. That is a very, very esoteric, esoteric kind of thing. But the point to understand is that the universe and the Quran that we have, they came from the same source. It's the same source. Yeah.
The last question, Sean.
About science in the West, I mean, do we think that science in classical Islamic period, same or similar to science developed in the West after, let's say, 15th century? Let's say 15th century.
No.
Because, yeah.
Well, I explained this. The long introduction that I wrote, Tawhid and Science. I said, what happened in history until the modern period, basically, until the 16th century. Until the 16th century, there was proximity. The gap was close, narrow, between Islamic science, science in Islamic civilization, and science in Western civilization, because many of what were produced by Islam were taken, borrowed by the West. But after the 16th century, with the foundation of modern thought, what happened was the West did not inherit the whole of Islamic science. It did not. The West only borrowed or inherit what he wanted to inherit. Some of these elements of Islamic science were ignored. Ignored by the West because it's not in conformity with the new thinking in the West, with the new philosophy of nature in the West. I think that does happen. So it is wrong for some Muslims to say, oh, why should we oppose modern science? Because the West learned from Islam, they took from Islam. But that's only half the story. It's only half the story. Half the story is, yes, one part of Islamic science became inherited by the West, by the Western science. But another part, not inherited. Examples, many of the writings on alchemy were not accepted because some have regarded all these superstitions, this all kinds of non-scientific thing. But many people do not know that Newton, their idol, Sir Isaac Newton, as a new scientific mind, he also was a student of Islamic alchemy. He, in his treasury of books and everything, many books on alchemy, which were borrowed from Islamic alchemy. So people don't know that the other story of about Newton. But that example only showed that the Western mind is not interested anymore on things that are very spiritual in nature. It's something more on rational, just based the new rational mind. I think that's happening.
It's the creation.
Well, yeah, that's true, creation, because they talk about that, yeah. So basically, based on the what I would call the tafsir method of understanding nature, not the hermeneutic, not the ta'wil. I'm talking of ta'wil, which is an understanding of creation at a deeper level. To understand, for example, when the creation from Adam, Ain dan Min, from nothing, creation of nothing. Creation as is the other interpretation of creation actually don't just ignored. But precisely in the absence of the concept, the inner interpretation of creation of nothing, then creation of nothing at the physical level, at the exoteric level, becomes a problem for the West. Yeah, they want to avoid problem. They want to run away from something which they don't like, and then finally, the concept of creatio ex nihilo cannot be understood. Cannot be understood with satisfaction. No, it doesn't make sense as a creation of nothing. So that's what we have.
And perhaps it can be tied to also Descartes when he said cogito ergo sum.
Yes, yeah.
The I.
One conclusion leads to another. So, in a sense, if we think carefully about what happened in the West, in the history of Western ideas, there's that path going gradually. It is an exercise of, let's say, taking off each level of reality. It impoverishes reality because the reality that is marginalized, that is rejected, could not be explained in a satisfactory manner to the Western mind, which has been changing. The Western mind is changing. So I think the word used in that is reductionism. There is reductionism in the idea of reality of creation. Many aspects of creation were thrown away, and then there is also reductionism at the microcosmic level in the mind. So there was reductionism at both levels, both the macrocosmic level and the microcosmic. This I published this in my article, long article on this, about this reductionism, simultaneous reductionism at both the macrocosmic and the macrocosmic level in the general sacred web. That's what happened. Because it is logical. We see changes in what we see because there are changes have happened to our eyes. Dr. Mata, forget it. Huh? People forget the subject and the object. Sometimes people remember changes in the object, but they forgot changes in the subject. Yeah? So that's what happened. What happened to modern Western civilization? They have impoverished the creation, the world of creation, the book of nature, the nature that Muslims understood in the past, or even Christians understood in the past. It's not the same nature as modern science understands. But that's because the modern mind now, as Jardin Salah mentioned in one of his book, in other words, he said precisely that the reason of understood by Ibn Rushd is not the same reason as now understood by the AI people, by the scientists. It's not the same. Not even the reason of Descartes. Yeah, even the reason of Descartes is, is richer than the reason of understood now. But the trend is downward, reduce, and reduce. Until what do we have? What do you have finally? So multi-dimensional man has become one-dimensional man.
And ceases to be man when AI comes.
Oh yeah. Of course, the word man itself. Okay.
Jazakallah khair, Professor Osman. Thank you very much for a very compelling discussion. I think this topic is very intense. So, for all intents and purposes, I think we need to kind of do some homework as well, inshallah. With that, I would like to thank everyone present here today. Alhamdulillah, thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. And also thank you for those who are online. Although you can't make it, you are here in spirit as well. We look forward to welcoming you in the next session, inshallah in person, the 9th session of the Al-Ghazali Chair Philosophical Discourse. And with that, I wish you a very pleasant Jummah Mubarakah and a pleasant weekend, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So if you find that somebody has